Tá. Então, primeiramente, quero dar o meu bom dia a todos e todas que estão nesse momento conectado a partir de agora.
Wonderful.
É, também gostaria de agradecer ao Criador, que nós chamamos de Pacuxipar, né, a Mãe Natureza, e agradecer esse momento de estar conectado com cada um de vocês. Agradeço por esse dia maravilhoso, com esse céu lindo, esse sol que brilha, que clareia todos os nossos dias de todos nós. Quero dizer que estou muito feliz de poder compartilhar um pouco do nosso movimento, da nossa luta que a gente carrega. Nós, do povo Runicunha, no caso eu como Mapu Runicunha, somos 22 mil habitantes aqui no estado do Acre, em 7 regiões do estado. Quero compartilhar com vocês o nosso movimento como um povo Runicunha, que vivemos sempre na floresta. Desde 1525 anos que a gente perdemos a nossa autonomia. Eu falo em questão de autonomia para o nosso povo, ele parte do princípio dos territórios, quando a gente foi tirado todos os nossos territórios, tiraram todo o nosso direito, então todos nós perdemos a nossa autonomia. E lutamos bastante no mundo político, articulando, buscando o caminho para encontrar, para que a gente possa reconquistar a nossa autonomia. E com essa busca de encontrar esse caminho para ter de volta a nossa autonomia, o caminho que nos mostra é poder comprar uma terra. Assim, nós vamos ter uma autonomia digna. Tendo uma terra aí, a gente consegue viver com a nossa cultura, com a nossa tradição, com nossos costumes, conhecimento, e assim preservar para que as futuras gerações possam também acessar. Nós somos um povo que ainda temos a nossa identidade viva, mesmo com vários processos que passamos, mas estamos passando por essa situação que é a ameaça de extinção mesmo do conhecimento, se nós não ter um território onde a gente possa criar um sistema para preservar esses conhecimentos, desde as plantas medicinais, das pinturas, da arte, da culinária. Então, vendo isso, com esse movimento, fazendo esse trabalho, hoje a gente está convidando a toda a Irmandade que possa também juntar-se a nós, a esse movimento, porque nós somos o povo que tem um conhecimento na natureza. Mas se nós não tiver o necessário para sobreviver, nem a floresta vai poder existir. Por isso, fico muito feliz de 1525 anos de luta que a gente vem, de hoje estar conversando com vocês, vendo que são parceiros, irmão, família, aliado, que possa também, a partir de agora, a gente poder conquistar essa autonomia para um povo que há tanto tempo vem lutando em busca dessa autonomia. Eu, como líder espiritual, que represento o meu povo, que viajo no mundo, com 22 anos eu fui ameaçado de morte. E foi um momento que me trouxe uma reflexão, eu tão jovem como liderança, lutando pela autonomia do meu povo, passando por esse processo, foi aonde veio esse caminho, essa solução de a gente poder comprar uma terra. Assim, nós vamos poder viver a nossa vida e praticar os nossos costumes e conhecimento. Eu me preocupo muito com o meu povo, porque tem muitos anciãos, muitas anciãs, que tem o seu conhecimento, mas de alguma forma não está tendo a oportunidade de poder preparar a sua juventude que está chegando agora. E o nosso objetivo, tendo essa terra, é trazer todos esses anciãos e anciã, conhecedor do nosso conhecimento, para que possa preparar essa juventude, essa nova geração que estão vindo, para que continue preservando um conhecimento tão sagrado que é do nosso povo. Então, vendo isso, sem território a gente não consegue mais preservar o nosso conhecimento, manter a nossa tradição, não dá mais de a gente poder viver os nossos costumes no nosso dia a dia com a nossa família, do formato da nossa cultura. E tendo essa terra, aonde vai ser, desde 1525 anos de luta, vai ser a primeira escola espiritual do meu povo, onde vamos estar juntando todos os anciãos e anciãs, para que nós possamos continuar preservando um conhecimento que é muito importante para a humanidade. Ensinar a juventude como se trabalha com as plantas medicinais, de banho, defumação, né? E a partir dali lidar com a natureza equilibrada. Tendo uma terra é onde a gente vai poder começar a cultivar os nossos alimentos, que nós do povo Runicum sempre fomos plantando, comendo do nosso alimento, e hoje a gente não tem essa autonomia, porque parte do território da terra, o princípio principal é a terra. A gente tendo terra, pode ter certeza que o povo é uma conquista que vai ter e uma referência de preservação do seu conhecimento sagrado. Então, tem esse território que nós estamos no processo de compra dessa terra, e que aí eu faço esse convite a cada um de vocês que façam parte, para que seja uma conquista do povo Runicum e que a gente possa deixar essa referência, esse legado para as futuras gerações, para que jamais se perda esse conhecimento. Está todo mundo preocupado com as mudanças climáticas, e nós sabemos o caminho de como equilibrar essas mudanças climáticas. E o caminho é comprar áreas degradadas e reflorestar, devolver a floresta de volta para trazer vida para a humanidade. Então, nessa floresta onde a gente está comprando, são 630 hectares, onde tem diversidade de onça, de animais, de árvores milenar como a samaúma. Para o povo Runicum, a samaúma é o castelo da natureza, porque é uma das árvores muito maior de todas as outras, então aonde habita uma memória ancestral. Então, essa terra onde a gente está buscando reconquistar a nossa autonomia. Então, convido humildemente a cada um de vocês que possam fazer parte desse movimento para que o povo Runicum reconquiste a sua autonomia. E quando nós conseguimos uma terra, uma floresta, quando a floresta ganha, todos nós seres humanos ganhamos. Quando o momento que a gente liberta uma terra, todos nós estamos sendo libertados. O nosso povo, a gente tem uma visão muito clara que a gente veio para essa terra, não trouxemos nada e não vamos levar nada, mas temos que deixar um caminho muito claro para que as futuras gerações possam usar para que viver equilibrado. A gente sempre fala que nós sempre preservamos a natureza, mas hoje está impossível a gente continuar preservando ou conquistando ou devolvendo a floresta de volta sem apoio de vocês. A gente não está conseguindo mais. Por isso estamos aqui conversando com cada um de vocês. E tendo essa terra é onde a gente vai poder fazer as pessoas viver o que é natureza, como que nós vivemos na natureza e como nós se comportamos com a natureza equilibrada. E saiba que o nosso povo estará sempre de portas abertas, com muita gratidão para receber a cada um de vocês e também poder compartilhar o nosso conhecimento, o nosso trabalho que a gente vem fazendo para que a gente possa manter essa cultura viva. Esse lugar vai ser uma forma de a gente poder trabalhar e reeducar a sociedade de como que nós podemos respeitar a natureza. Aonde nós estamos comprando uma fazenda que não tem mais floresta, mas nós vamos provar para o mundo que nós vamos reflorestar, trazendo qualidade de alimento saudável para a família, para quem chega lá vai ter um alimento que não é com veneno, mas sim um alimento saudável plantado com a mão na terra. Esse ano a gente plantamos 26 mil mudas de árvores numa área degradada que hoje, daqui mais 5 anos, vai ter uma floresta viva. Vai ter água e ar puro e os animais para a gente poder ser contemplado por essa beleza. Então, nessa fazenda, nesse lugar, que é onde não tem mais floresta, nós queremos plantar milhões de árvores e aí sim mostrar para o sistema que tem jeito sim de equilibrar essa mudança climática a partir de uma atitude que a gente pega as áreas degradadas e vamos devolver a floresta de volta para que se reequilibre a vida de todos nós. Nós somos 22 mil habitantes e 600 hectares. Não é tão grande, mas para nós já é uma grande conquista de tanto ano de luta que a gente vem. Então, 600 hectares, vocês não têm noção a felicidade que traz para um povo que reconquista a sua autonomia. Esse é o nosso sonho, esse é o nosso movimento, o nosso projeto, pensando na vida da humanidade, porque tenho certeza que quando a gente plantar 500 milhões de árvores, vai ter ar para muitas vidas respirar, vai ter muita água boa para as pessoas beber. Essa é a nossa preocupação e o nosso objetivo de a gente poder criar um sistema que seja de exemplo para o mundo também se inspirar e começar também a fazer esse papel. E aonde a resposta para o sistema que tem jeito, sim, de equilibrar esse nosso planeta e ter um planeta mais saudável, sustentável, regenerativo, biocultural para sobreviver. Nós somos guardião que temos esse conhecimento das plantas medicinais que vivemos na natureza. Mas se a gente não tiver o mínimo para sobreviver, a gente não tem como resistir mais. Por isso estou aqui convidando, faça parte desse movimento e venha também fazer história junto para que a gente possa inspirar muitos jovens que estão se perdendo, para que eles possam entender e assumir também essa responsabilidade. E nós acreditamos que o futuro, ele começa a partir de agora. Tudo é agora. Então, eu confio e acredito em cada um de vocês que nós possamos se unir, fazer essa aliança e junto caminhar para que nós possamos realmente deixar esse caminho para que as futuras gerações possam também se beneficiar. Então, esse é o nosso projeto. Eu sei que a gente poderia conversar mais e eu teria muitas coisas para a gente falar, mas espero que vocês entendam, né, o que eu falei aqui e a gente pode continuar falando a partir da conquista da Terra. Depois que a gente conquistar a Terra, aí a gente pode sentar e poder falar, né, mais. Mas enquanto isso, sem terra a gente não consegue falar muita coisa. Então, esse é o meu apelo que eu deixo para cada um de vocês. E a Irmandade, queiram conhecer melhor,
Good.
nós temos nossas redes sociais, nós temos escrito que a gente pode disponibilizar melhor para vocês entenderem como é que está essa dinâmica do nosso projeto. E quero muito agradecer por esse momento de poder compartilhar aqui com cada um de vocês. E para finalizar, com muita humildade, com muito amor, de coração aberto, em nome do meu povo, em nome da minha família, faço esse convite. Venham pisar o pé aqui na terra e sentir o que nós estamos sentindo, para que junto a gente possa, entendendo essa dinâmica, para que a gente possa realmente reconquistar a vida desses animais que estão em risco, as nascentes que estão em risco, as florestas milenar que também estão em risco, porque se nós não comprar, vai um fazendeiro, derruba tudo e acaba, porque é assim esse sistema e a gente não pode mais permitir isso. Família, muita gratidão e muito obrigado.
Thank you.
House.
Good. Thank you.
Mapu. Obrigado, Mapu.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you very much. That was a very impressive presentation, and it's so important that we all hear this, especially people like me who come from a country involved in many colonizing crimes. It is a terrible situation where someone from a tribe whose land was stolen from them and they were forced to leave their own piece of special territory, and now they have to buy their own land back. We should never ignore the intensity of cruelty which is enacted by human beings in order to bring an end to the Atlantic slave trade. The British and other nations decided to pay compensation to the slave owners, but they didn't pay compensation to those who had been enslaved. Nowadays, we even have politicians who apologize to people for what we did in the past, but they don't want to give any compensation. So now I'd like to start by outlining the Buddhist view of how such cruelty and selfishness arises. And then we can look at the particular vulnerabilities of minorities to exploitation. And then we can look at what we can do in practical terms. So clearly we can do projects to raise some money to help these people buy back their land. And for Buddhists, we can also do the internal work of ensuring that we purify our own mind from all its dualistic fantasies of being the winner, being the one who gets the prize. So we return to reflecting on our source, the great openness which is the mother of all. And this source is described as being uncompounded. It's not made, it's not put together from this and that, but it is intrinsic, there from the very beginning. It is self-arising, just there. But it's beyond measurement. It is deep and vast and has no boundaries, no beginning and end. And in this way, it is beyond thought and expression, and is beyond the categories of samsara and nirvana. The source is not a thing, and we, arising from the source, are similarly not things. If we become aware of this, then we see that all our experience is not other than the generous flow of the source. When we look around, we see many, many different things, colors, shapes, people, and so on. When we follow the view of Dzogchen, we are able to see that this diversity is without any separation from the ground source. Nothing that we see has any true autonomy or real existence of its own. It arises in the manner of a dream or a play, a fantasy. By engaging in practice, we open to the ever open. And then we find ourselves present as the integrity of openness, potential, and participation. How we manifest in the world with the various ever-changing patterns we encounter. When we are present in the common source, the source of all, we are freed from the veils of duality and hierarchy. And this open source is not a reward. It's not something we can buy or earn by striving. It is the intrinsic. It is what is always present. The door is always open, but we have to look in the right direction. We need to learn to open to and see and be present with and as the ungraspable. All our experiences arise in this openness and are not other than this openness. But we have to look for ourselves. We have to see the nature of our own mind. So we have these two possibilities: to be aware of the open ground or not to be aware of the open ground. Many of you with us here today are familiar with the Buddhist teaching. And we've learned, but we perhaps don't yet live, the fact that if we are unaware of the openness, what happens is we become conscious of thingness. Our basic lack of awareness means that we experience an unfolding of a process of increasing density and reification. So even before there were any sentient beings at all, there arose a kind of contraction in the flow of becoming. And this contraction did not release. Because what is contracting is, as it were, a fragment of awareness which manifests as a singular consciousness. This is happening to me. At first, this consciousness is very fragile. And under the pressure of so many experiences arising and the impossibility of this small singular consciousness to understand what is happening, it goes unconscious. So this, in being separated from the ground, we cannot be aware of the open source. Every finite is included or is part of the infinite. In using the term awareness for Rigpa, it's indicating the infinity of openness, the infinity of presence, and the infinity of the uninterrupted flow of experience. So just as our hands can do many, many different things, engage with all the different appearances of our world, this is most possible for our open, empty hand. But if my hand grasps a pen, its focus is on the finite. And this is the beginning of consciousness. I am conscious of something. I am doing something. Or this is happening to me. With the process of this repeated kind of experience, we are born. We are born out of the loss of the ground and the identification with the partial and not with the whole. Who is experiencing this? No one. We're not there at the very beginning. We are not responsible for separating from the ground. Nobody has done this. It's like a piece of ice falling off a big iceberg, and there is a sudden wave which shoots out. The wave will settle back into the ocean. But it's, what is that? Why did that happen? Who am I? These questions or vibrations which set the experiencer in relation to the experienced, this gives rise to the feeling of being an existent. I am here. I endure. I have location. I am always somewhere. And I have duration. I have a past and a present and a future. This is a patterning of thoughts. Thoughts have power. If somebody says to us, I love you, we feel a particular kind of warmth or happiness. We want to believe that we are loved. That belief is a kind of confirmation. Here I am, and I have value. So the thought, I exist, has no substance of its own, but it offers an object formation that we can believe in. I am James. I know that there are many people in the world called James, but their Jamesness doesn't interest me. Only my Jamesness interests me. So there is a kind of pulling into the center, which forms the center of who I am. I can talk about myself as if I am a thing. This is a story we can believe in. I am both the storyteller and the story which is told. But this subject formation of I, me, myself, because it is actually a pulsation or a wave within the flow of experience, I always have a sense of vulnerability. I assert that I exist, But this is an assertion. It's something I put out. It's a proposition. So the structure of my seeming separate existence is vulnerable to all the different factors moving around me. And yet, I believe I exist. I am someone. So this is the bad faith or the deception that we inhabit. I exist, but how I am depends on circumstances. If you are friendly, I relax and feel at ease. If you are very critical and judgmental, I tense up inside and I'm much less certain. So this fragility or lack of inherent existence or vulnerability means that we have to constantly strive to stabilize how we are. I take myself to be an isolate, something isolated from the environment around me. And then, in order to maintain my seeming autonomy, I want to have power over the factors which are operating on me. And this develops within our dualistic consciousness of self and other. It develops as the function of naming and describing and defining whatever we meet. With this process continuing, we have the gradual emergence of language. The language, we have nouns and verbs. The noun seems to be something which exists in itself. And the verb shows our relation to what is around us. I am going to the market. I am a stable subject. The market is a stable object. And that's where I'm going. But when I get to the market, I don't know who's going to be there or what the stalls will have. Will the vegetables be good or not? And I don't know whether I'll be happy or sad. So the confidence that comes from saying, I am going to the market, is a very foolish kind of confidence. I don't know how I will be. I don't know what will be there. All I can say is, let's see. But that doesn't feel strong enough for myself. I exist. So the assertion of my individual enduring identity acts as a method of not attending to the ever-shifting phenomena of which I am part. I become the namer, and on the basis of naming objects, I know what they are and how they function, and I build up this cognitive capacity, which is the basis of dualistic consciousness. And we organize this mass of experiences which are occurring moment by moment, not in terms of their co-emergence on a horizontal plane, but we shift onto a vertical axis in which we put the best at the top and the worst at the bottom. So we create hierarchies of value. So, for example, we might say that rich people are better than poor people. White people are better than non-white people. Healthy people are better than sick people. Men are better than women. There are so many interpretations which can be made for organizing the value that we project onto the objects we encounter. And then we tend to agree with the people who share our value system and be suspicious or aggressive towards the people who don't share our value system. And the more we trust and rely on our conceptual interpretations of what is going on, the more we become blind to the immediacy of the actual phenomena themselves. We prefer stories about rather than the immediacy of how it is. The conceptual definition gives us a sense of power. I know what this is. If I know what it is on Monday, I'll know what it is on Friday. But in terms of the actual phenomena themselves, what appears through our senses, I don't know. Let's see. This is how it is on Monday, but on Friday, maybe it will be very different. That is to say, yeah. That is to say, power comes from the concept, not from the actual. The power to define others, to pull them into our interpretive schema is a very dreadful power for those who are at the mercy of this interpretation. So in Buddhist terms, we reflect a lot on the nature of karma. Karma arises with the turning of the three wheels. There is the subject, the object, and the verb or the activity which links them. So I look at you and I think, oh, you're dressed in very nice clothes. Maybe you have a lot of money in your pocket. I don't know, but I imagine. And I imagine that I could steal the money from you. And then, clarifying my plan of how I will steal from you, I bring it into action. I have stolen from you. I am successful. I have won and you have lost. This is good for me. And I am thinking about me. I'm not thinking about you. If I was thinking about you, I would not have stolen your money. So I become figural. I become center stage. And you, in your life, recede into the background. For me, you are a means to an end. You are a method whereby I can have a better life. I used you as an object. I may know that you are a subject also, that you are alive, you have five senses, you have experiences, but I want you to be an object for me. So my concern is much more important than your concerns. So we've seen the process here of being unaware of the ground source, becoming the movement of basic primitive subjectivity and objectivity generates a further alienation from the source. From this arises the dualism of self and other, and the attribution of qualities to self and other, and then behavior in the world determined by my own intention and putting myself first. So this sense of superiority and entitlement leads me to disregard the situation of others and the normalizing of my exploitation of the other. My teacher, Sia Lama, used to say, everyone can eat. We just feel hungry and we want to eat. But our access to food and to the quality of food depends on our place in the social hierarchy. Because rich people can make a profit from selling poor quality food to poor people, they keep doing it. The rich people don't want to eat the food they provide for the poor people. But why would I eat what they eat? I'm not like them. This lack of empathic attunement, this lack of resonance to the subjective feeling of others is the basis of our cruelty. If we have a choice between winning or losing, it seems obvious that winning is better. So, with this approach, we have the organization of our society in terms of different strata, different levels of entitlement and enjoyment. Now, just as our ego self is inherently fragile and without true existence, this is paralleled by the state. We see that the structures and rules that permit the development of a democratic society can function quite well as long as everybody believes that they are important. But once you have somebody who says, never mind the law, I am above the law, I am the leader, the president, the dictator, then the power of law goes down and the will of the megalomaniac becomes installed as the vehicle of truth. The dictator cuts the brakes and puts the foot down on the accelerator. One mad project after another, running, fast. The one thing the leader doesn't want is feedback. Why do I need to know what ordinary people think? I am a special person. That's why I have to control the media channels and the newspapers so that the disturbing ideas shouldn't spread among ordinary people who are not able to understand. Oh, we can take this Buddhist understanding and apply it to the nature of colonialism. Arriving on my ship as the captain, I decide how it is. I see people running on the beach. They have 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, but they don't wear the same clothes as me. And when I land on the beach with my sailors, with our guns and swords, I refer to the vertical hierarchy. I am on the top, not just because of my guns, but because of my organizing dogma. I am civilized. I am a Christian. These people are barbarian. They are inferior. Therefore, I have to control them. They are not equivalent to me. So clearly, there is no common ground, no sense that we are the dynamic radiance of the common source. I am in charge, and I will say how it is, and I will enforce this. And mainly European colonial powers in going to South America, North America, Africa, Australia, and so on, were determined not to give true value to the indigenous people. We need to try to make these people work for us. We can put them into the ground, digging to find gold to take back to our homeland, working in plantations to grow crops with which we can become rich. These defeated people, or these enslaved people, or these disempowered people, they are not free subjects. They are not an end in themselves. They are a means to my end. I will force them to do what I want. And if they are living in a big forest or a jungle, and I might get rubber out of that jungle, or get good cash crops like coffee and cocoa, then it's clear these indigenous people, they don't know anything about capitalism or trade. Therefore, they are not worthy to be the owners of these wonderful things which I know how to utilize. It is obvious that I should take their land because I have access to lawyers and all the legal documents are written in the language of the colonizer. So I can prove that under law I am fully entitled. And in this way, the powerless minorities are pushed off the good soil and made to live in areas where there is a lot of disease and animals which could be harmful to health. I have no interest in their culture. Why should I? It's obvious they don't have any culture. So after 300 years of colonialism, eventually some social anthropologist turns up to write down an account of the life of people in that tribe. Now, clearly this has happened in Brazil, but it happened in Africa, in North America. In North America, with the movement of the white-skinned immigrants, the native peoples were lied to and cheated out of their entitlement, pushed from good land onto poor land, forced onto these marches of tears in which they lost all that they had known. Because the colonizers were saying, I want it, therefore it's mine. And the soldiers, the cavalry, they said, yes, you are a white skin, I am a white skin, we will get rid of these people so you can have what you want. So much destruction, so much cruelty and exploitation, justified by lies and cheating. Now, many of us are involved with Tibetan Buddhism. The Chinese invasion 75 years ago took over the vast landscape of Tibet. There was a very clear intention to destroy the Buddhist culture because the Western people had already exported into the Chinese psyche the notion of capitalism and the ideas of communism. So the conflict between the Chinese capitalists and the Chinese communists led to the Great March, the Long March, and the rise of the Communist Party in China. And having fought so many battles to overcome the warlords and capitalist leaders, the Communist Party was very clear. We need to have absolute control, all power to the Communist Party. No interest in the diversity of traditional ways of living. but a commitment to homogenization. People dressed in the same little blue uniform. Our identity is that we are Chinese and that we are entitled to participate in the control of this land. For the Tibetans, this was a disaster. The culture was forbidden. Increasingly, the language, Tibetan language, was forbidden, and there was an effort not to educate the young people in their own language. Now, we have benefited from this because the Tibetan refugees opened up the field of Buddhism to people in Western countries. We gained on the basis of the loss of the Tibetan land for the Tibetans. All over the Western world now, there are little groups of Tibetan refugees who make a life for themselves in France, in England, in America, and so on. And they build monasteries and they try to educate the future generation in the principles of Dharma. The structure of exploitation experienced by the Tibetans is exactly the same structure experienced by Australian Aborigines, by North American Indigenous peoples, South American Indigenous people. When you become objectified inside someone else's interpretive system, your very survival is at risk. Because the Chinese government can decide that Buddhism is against the overarching authority of the Chinese state. Difference becomes seen in itself as being an attack on the homogeneity of the state apparatus. What a tragedy. The Chinese state has the biggest army in the world. Who can stand against this? So we see everywhere minorities being abused, exploited, disregarded. So this project that we began with about purchasing land in Brazil is very important. If we can participate in this in some way, it's a symbol of our support for the disenfranchised, the exploited. Why should we be bothered about these people? Because they are not like us. Not everybody wants to have Coca-Cola and hamburgers for their every meal. The richness of our life is the diversity of experiences we can encounter. Being enslaved, being forced not to speak your mother tongue, this is a diminution of the richness, not just of that person's existence, but of our world culture. In Dharma practice, we say again and again, may all sentient beings be happy. This means the Chinese government and the Tibetan exiles and the Tibetan people still in their traditional lands who try to hang on to their own culture. May they all be happy. But that would mean diversity being tolerated. We are good people. Why don't you want to be like us? We are successful. You are defeated. You are the minority. Be like us. Don't speak your old languages. Don't do your old rituals. Get a job in a factory. Earn some money. Become normal. This is what is being presented to so many people across the world. And it's not just for the small minority, it's also in our Western democracy. We have had a war running in Europe for many years now. European people are being killed. Does it matter? They're not our people. I'm British. Why should I give my taxes to help Ukrainians? But we can remember, when they came for the Ukrainians, I looked away. When they came for the Palestinians, I looked away. But now, when they are coming for me, everyone else is looking away. The ego doesn't understand ethics. May all sentient beings be happy. Just because they are alive, they have life. Life is the radiance of the ground. Life is the Dharmakaya, the light of the Buddha's mind shining through us, opening our senses, helping us to feel that we are part of this, participants in this unfolding drama of here we are. Therefore, on an outer level, as much as possible, we can support these diverse groups of minorities, including this land repurchasing in Brazil. And in our practice, we can commit ourselves to seeing how prejudice arises in our own mind. When we were young, these differences were often presented to us as just being how it is. Identities are mutually exclusive. If you're male, you're not female. If you're Scottish, you're not English. And if you're Scottish, you should have the protection of the Scottish people as your main concern. Our people, not their people. When we see that these old scripts, these old beliefs are still alive in us, and they direct the way in which we make sense of so much of what we encounter, then we see, deep Dharma practice is necessary. Enlightenment or deep spiritual freedom is not a reward. It is a return to the intrinsic, to that which is already present. And so we have many different kinds of practice. We have the famous practice of Tonglen, of giving and receiving, where we say, whenever I am happy, I will give all my happiness to others. And when I am sad, I will take the sadness of all beings onto myself. This is a wonderful practice. It confronts the basic structure of the ego. The ego wants to win. But if you and I have the same ground, the same basis, and my winning means your defeat, then my desire to win is in fact my betrayal of our common ground. And the common ground is the basis of our awakening. So when the ego says, me first, my people first, my kind first, as if it was truly taking care of its own basic self-interest, it is actually blinding itself to the ever open door of the Buddha's heart. We continue with our practice, always including all beings. Happiness is not something to deserve. It's not a reward. It is the intrinsic quality of the free flow of the openness, the luminosity, and our participation within that bright field. Oh, may our hearts be turned into themselves to the depth of open emptiness, and may they be turned out in warmth and hospitality to all beings that we encounter. So I would like to thank Pedro for bringing to our attention this wonderful project in Brazil. And I hope that it will be something that all our Sangha everywhere can become enthusiastic about. You can see how difficult it is for these minorities to stand up for themselves. As this marvelous speaker who was at the beginning was saying, he has been attacked so many times because his independent mind is seen as something dangerous for those who have homogenized themselves with the desire of the state. And I'd like to thank our translators for helping us all to understand. And I'd like to thank you for your attention, and hopefully you'll find a way to participate together to bring more truth and life and justice. So we come to the end. I hope that my health will continue to improve so that we can do more Zoom teachings in the autumn. But now in the Sangha, there are many study and practice groups that you can join in. So I wish you happiness and ease in the depth of the Dharma. So I say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well, where are people?
Thank you, James.
Obrigada.
Muito obrigado, James.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
James.
Obrigado, James. Muito obrigado, John. Muito obrigado, João.
Obrigada, João.
Oh,
Gracias, Mariana.
bye-bye.
Good seeing everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Pedro.
I don't know how to see everything,
Bye,
but
Jen.
I wish you all very well. Bye for now.
Bye, James. Thank you.
Bye, James.
Bye, James, and
Thank
everyone.
you very much. Thank you.
Mm.
Bye.